Now, we have a question coming in from the chat room, not to change the subject, but the Malfront, Texas, I believe it says, he's asking about climate change and what your thoughts are on that.
The Soviets in early 60s started developing the Tesla. The Yugoslavian inventor Tesla had concepts, ideas, discoveries about he called it several different things. He called it a killer ray and different things, but in modern times they call it scalar, S-C-A-L-A-R, S-C-A-L-A-R. Do a search for it on the computer, scalar. That's a modern word for it. And the Soviets developed it as a weapon system, and they have successfully used it to control and modify weather over North America. Many years ago, I've been in ham radio since I was 13 years old, so it's 60-some years in ham radio, and we used to listen to a funny signal on 7 megacycles, and it was called a woodpecker signal. And we didn't, the hams and no one else for that matter had any idea what it was for. But it turned out it was part of the scalar system over North America radiated by the Russians. And it set up a grid pattern over North America. So the Soviets started in 60 to manipulate the weather and the people over North America with Tesla's scalar. Scalar is not an RF signal. It's not a radio signal, but it can manifest as a weapon or as a device to control weather. And that's how it's been applied. If you also would like to see something curious, search for the words mysterious booms, mysterious booms, B-O-O-M-S, and you will find all over the United States and various parts of the world, the stories read the same. Shaking the house, shaking the ground, buildings, booms rolling across the sky, and they're all mysterious and nobody has any explanation. Well, it is a manifestation of tuning the transmitters in Russia, the scalar transmitters. Or it is a manifestation of scalar energy over North America. And you will find it page after page on the internet. That's what it is. It can shake the house and shake the ground. William Cohen, Secretary of Defense, in 1997, said that the Soviets, the terrorists, now have the capability of making earthquakes, controlling weather, and setting off volcanoes with these devices. And they are in the hands of the terrorists now. 10 nations have these ultimate weapons, scalar weapons. Israel has it, the United States, China, of course Russia is the number one. The country of Brazil has it, of all things. And it is devastating. They can control hurricanes coming into the Gulf. Katrina was guided into New Orleans, and Rita and several of the other hurricanes. Right now, the United States is negating the hurricanes with that technology. The Columbia, the Thresher submarine, and the Challenger were taken down by Russian scalar weapons. We know that. There's enough proof to make us confident that they were taken down. So there's a lot going on. The Russians also have a communication system based on scalar. It's not an RF, so you can't hear them, you see, unless you have scalar receivers. Global warming, I don't know. The weather is being manipulated, and earthquakes are occurring all over the United States, but it's military in nature. It's the ultimate weapon. You can take out a city by pressing a button on the other side of the earth.
And it looks like an act of God.
That's right. That's right.
Now, is this at all related to the HARP array, the ultra high frequency emitters in Alaska? Because that's everything that I've read about those arrays. That's exactly the way it's described, as it projects ultra high frequency microwave radiation to the upper ionosphere.
Well,
and,
I think the HARP is a heater. I think it's old technology. Our time is running out here, and I'm keenly aware of that. We could talk for another day or so about these things, and I'd be glad to do that. We can continue with the podcast. Our live feed will end in 3 minutes, but we can continue on with the podcast. It'll continue to record, so it can be rebroadcast as a podcast. Okay, that would be fine.
So, no pressure.
Okay. There's a lot going on with the scalar. We see it. The earthquakes. If you look at the earthquake map on the internet, you will see more and more earthquakes appearing east of Oklahoma City, one right after another. Another pattern is appearing in a diagonal line in East Tennessee over the power plants and the TVA dams and Oak Ridge. Hundreds of earthquakes have appeared in that diagonal line over the last couple of 3 years. And everybody thinks it's normal, but it's not. It's not. You can use this technology to keep the hurricanes out of the Gulf of Mexico, but you also affect your rainfall. It's a price to be paid for some of these maneuvers, you see. You can cause droughts by protecting the Gulf to keep the water off the people. Since the water has been poisoned, you don't want storms coming in and throwing millions of gallons of water on the land and contaminating the people in the land. So that's going on also. There's a lot of twists and turns to it, but that's kind of the gist of it.
Right. So those two are not related at all. I mean, I understand that the HARP array is heating the upper ionosphere, which is causing weather patterns to change. How does the scalar, what does that operate on? What is the functionality of that?
Well, if you can imagine two giant, just for the sake of grasping the concept, if you can imagine two giant radar transmitters, and where they intersect, you would get the effect. And it has to do with time. It has to do with coming together of RF waves to form another phenomena. The actual event is not RF. You can go to Tom Bearden's, Colonel Tom Bearden, Bearden, on the internet, and just read all about it. He goes on, he's the authority on this in the United States. He's in Alabama. He's 85, 86 years old. He's the authority on it. Yeah, Tom Bearden.
Now, you mentioned earthquakes, and that is something that I have noticed they're occurring in greater frequency. In fact, there are a lot of what would be classified as natural disasters. I think the Oxfam, the relief organization, reported that there's been a quadrupling of natural disasters since I think since 2008 or 2004 in the last 6 years or so. And I can't imagine that this is just occurring naturally. That all of a sudden there's more earthquakes, there's more tidal waves, volcanic activity. I mean, this is just not something that's happening naturally.
No, I don't believe it's natural. But it would be very difficult to prove it. You see, you could create
if
earthquakes.
Not possible.
Now, you remember about a week ago there was a split in the land in Michigan, in the Upper Peninsula, and it was accompanied by a mysterious boom coming down from overhead. Well, that is a signature of scalar.
Right.
Anytime you have that boom and it comes down out of the sky.
And this is okay. This is coming from this is airborne. This is an airborne sonic event.
Yes, the boom, yeah,
Yeah.
across the sky.
Because when you mention Tesla, I can't help but think of the mechanical resonance, which reportedly Tesla was able to use his mechanical resonance machine to create earthquakes in New York City. And that's kind of where my mind goes to. Is there anything like that that's being used?
Tesla said he could split the Earth in two.
Right.
It was that powerful. Well, that's the kind of thing that we're seeing.
Yeah.
Not to that extent. But I believe if you stir in it long enough and you do this, you could affect nature. You could affect falling of the dominoes.
Mm-hmm.
You could set off situations that you didn't want to set off, I think.
Oh, sure. Yeah, such is always the case when you don't know what you're doing and you don't have a firm grasp of the forces that you're dealing with.
Now, if you were a Muslim Arab nation that wanted to create havoc and die for Allah, then you can imagine the situation. You would want to destroy things. You would want to destroy the world. It's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation facing many in the world today. There's no good answers to what we're facing.